Change. The Astrotherapy Podcast interviews. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Astrotherapy Podcast. My name is Ciela Wynter, and today I am very happy to be sharing with you some insights from my inner world around the theme of change. So this is a bit of an interview of self, I suppose, and let's see where it goes. So for those of you who are not familiar with my work, I'm currently full-time an astrologer, and I've been studying astrology, immersing myself into astrology for about 30 years, but truly diving into the form of this beautiful cosmic art for the last 20 or so. I've been reading for friends, family, and acquaintances for around 10 years. And over the last 3, I've been completely submerged in a full-time practice of exploring the inner worlds and understanding self in the reflection of the planetary bodies that represent different facets, different archetypes of the psyche. Completely enthralled with the mirror that is the birth chart, and how over all of these decades of learning this poetic language, that every time that I come to my own birth chart, I see something new, I see something different. It's completely phenomenal. And astrology is just one thing that I do. It's something that I love. It's a passion. It feels innate. It feels like somehow, just as I speak English as my first language, or I try to speak English as my first language, this feels like a deeper language of my soul. And who knows where we are all truly from. Right now, we live on a blue star called Earth, and from other vantage points in our cosmic reality, from other planetary bodies, from the sun, for example, we can see the Earth just as another feature of that eternal galaxy. So right now, most of us listening to this have our feet grounded on Earth in some capacity. Some of us might be a bit more up in the air, depending on what your current moment, circumstance, transits are infusing your awareness with. And it's a very curious time to be a human being on this planet. Astrology has been a true gift for me, and a resource in very challenging times of my life. I've been leading an interview series on change and why change, why now? Because change is everywhere. Change is always everywhere. Change is how we breathe. We're breathing in oxygen, and we're breathing out what we don't need. We're breathing in the life. We're breathing out death. We're breathing change. We are being changed from the moment that we wake up, which is different than how we went to bed. We went through some alchemical transmutational process between the evening and the morning, whether we're aware of it or not. And some of us who are dreamers might have kind of traced that journey through the psyche, through the subconscious, perhaps liminally, perhaps in a lucid state. Others just happen to wake up and it feels like a miracle. Here I am again. I don't know where I was, but now I am here. And some of us may wake up and not even realize that we're here. We just kind of get up, I don't know how people go into the kitchen, kind of sleepwalk and push the coffee maker. And that is the beginning of the day. So depending on our own personal rhythms and needs and capacity to greeting this new morning can also be seen or observed inside of the birth chart, meaning the birth chart is truly a mirror. is a reflection of who we are, not just who we are right now, but who we've been and who we are becoming. So change is everywhere. Change is happening at this particular time on an astrological level, in ways that maybe we haven't seen in those of us who are listening, or for myself, in our lifetime. So most of you have probably heard of Uranus. Uranus is the cosmic rebel. Uranus is the lightning bolt of electrical, radiant authenticity that powers through the cosmos, revealing and disrupting both the status quo and what needs to be moved in order for the new to arrive, what needs to be, kind of eradicated or ignited. So when Uranus comes around, we feel change. We feel a resonance to maybe a restlessness, maybe something that's emerging from the depths of us, or maybe it comes out of nowhere. It's completely unpredictable. And there is a particular resonance with this, which can feel unsettling. And it can also be exciting. Uranus recently moved into Gemini since this past July of 2025. And in that, moving from Taurus, Uranus was embedded inside of Taurus. It's an earth sign. It's slow moving, kind of like the molasses of the chart, right? It's just slow, steady, like the turtle. Slow, steady wins the race. Slow, steady is the wisdom keeper, truly, in a lot of ways. Just moving very, very deep, very slow, calm, that kind of calm peace also is infused with tremendous stamina. And with Uranus coming in, it's like tectonic plates shifting at a very, very deep level. And that change has been rumbling maybe for the past 7-8 years. Now, with Uranus entering and has entered into Gemini, an air sign, it's here. It's what we see, it's what we smell, it's in our breath, it is everywhere. It's so permeable. And there's so much change that I don't even know if it's going to keep the name changed, because it's just becoming the way it is. It's becoming what is so. With AI, everything is unpredictable. There is no limit, basically, to what is possible in the realms of man-made and now artificially made design. So when I think of the divine, I think of the sacred architect. I look at these bodies. I feel my own heartbeat. I am reminded that there is a miracle in life itself, that there is a miracle in every moment, and no one has quite captured the capacity to recreate or copy that level of integrity and majesty. However, as humans do, they try to conquer, to replicate. And now, in so doing that, with tremendous effort, have created technology that can surpass humans' ability to do that. And now it's out of our hands. Truly, we have no more control over what has already been created. And if we look back in time, or eons of time, if we are tracing the origin to why are we in such dire straits in the first place, why have we, or how have we actually lost so much of our mind and our ability to be mindful? How is it that we're sleepwalking through life, nearly unconscious, only to snap into conscious awareness for very small periods of time? Even those who are dedicated monks living in monasteries are constantly working a practice to become more aware, to become more cognizant, to become more conscious. And those of us who live in mundane reality, navigating the distractions of everyday life and our responsibilities as householders and business owners, servants to our community. There's a lot to manage. There's a lot to contend with that's also vying for our attention, when actually, for us to be fully conscious, our attention needs to be focused on our consciousness, on the being that we are, being conscious. And that takes a tremendous amount of effort. It takes a lot more energy and resource that most of us have to be able to do that 100% of the time, because of all of the different layers that are pulling at us at a very fast pace that is constantly there, constantly asking for our attention, our to-do lists, um, even our dreams, our visions, our hopes, our goals, what we want for our life, who we want to become, who we want to be for our partner, for our family, how we want to show up for our clients. All of this requires certain actions, certain attitudes, um, certain tasks to get done. I mean, when we really start to analyze or kind of objectively observe our life as it is it is a huge corporation. It is like we are the CEO of our life. And yet, for those of us who serve something greater than ourselves, for those of us who are um, here to be useful, here to serve our Creator, our God, our Lord, our higher being, our universe, our spirit, however you want to say that, however it is for you, um, there's an understanding that there's only so much control that we actually have. And yet there is an acquired participation. Okay. And that acquired participation asks a tremendous amount from us to maintain the lives, the very complex lives that we've created for ourselves, which maybe they don't need to be so complex. And personally, I'm looking how to uh, decomplexify. I like to make up words, how to simplify my life. And it's not easy, not an easy task to do. If you have some great ideas about that, I'd love to learn from you. But yeah, how to live more simply so that more of my attention, more of my awareness can be solely energized and focused on my Creator, on my Lord, also on my higher being, and more available for my mission, my purpose, the vision that lives inside of my heart. So all of that to say that right now, Uranus is coming in and change is everywhere. There's a lot more distraction in the outer world, which could be a call to less distraction in the inner world as an antidote, as an urgent necessity. The more that there is to contend with in our outer world, the answer for myself, I have found, is to go deeper in my inner world, to root down, to nourish my my ground. And sometimes it's very challenging, and as of late it's been nearly impossible. And yet it's there. The ground is there inside. And each one of us, because we all come in with an internal zodiac of all of the signs, all of the houses, all of the planetary bodies, each one of us has ground somewhere. Even if you have no Earth in your chart represented by planetary bodies, you have it represented somewhere in your chart. So we are whole and complete beings, and yet we have forgotten that. And some of us may be more out of balance than others, so to speak, which just means that those who have found some semblance of balance have maybe integrated more of themselves into their awareness. So we all have a chance to do that. And my sense is that Uranus and Gemini is asking or inviting or demanding that of us in some way, with all of the upheaval that's happening in Gemini. And Gemini rules the third house, and the third house is our developing mind. It's really where the birthplace of our beliefs and how we perceive the world, in the sense of understanding it. When we're a baby, and we're newly born and our hands are kind of in the air in front of our eyes, we first see shadows, and then those shadows become shapes, and then those shapes eventually become what we hear somebody say, that's your hand. It's like, okay, there's a thought form of hand somewhere in there, and eventually that becomes a sound, as we're trying to articulate that. We're trying to put our thought, our understanding into a sound, into a word, for it to describe this, and then that word connects us to our hand. And now there's a synapsis um, that is activated, and I can now grow from that. I can learn from that I have a hand. And it's through that movement of the body, it's through the development of my mind, it's through the use of my voice that gives birth to a reality. This is Gemini. The icon of Gemini are two pillars, and those two pillars represent duality. So hot, cold, male, female, sun, moon, right, wrong. And duality is a space in which contains our reality. But the reality, to me, is really what lives between those two pillars. And Gemini is here. The refined noble task of Gemini in its highest state is to comprehend reality and to articulate it, to communicate that for us all to have an experience of, and an understanding from our own internal Gemini. Now, Gemini has a full spectrum of, light to dark, just like all of the signs. I don't want to say good, bad, but I want to say that there's a lower frequency and there's a higher frequency. And that highest frequency of Gemini is about the truth. It's the development of understanding that there is a truth, and it's worth being very curious about. The shadow of Gemini is the lie. It's the lie that duality is the truth. And we can get caught in between the antagonism that lives between right and wrong, that dual nature of ourselves, even our being and our ego. And the ego wants to remain in a duplicitous kind of nature or state, because from there it can thrive, it can grow, it can take over. It's a mechanism that, when we're unconscious, can pervade our everyday, our waking or sleep waking. It's maybe, instead of sleepwalking, it's sleep waking hours, where we literally may, or I'll just say, I may just give over my power, my awareness, my capacity to this unconscious mechanism that begins to drive my ship. And it may look like fears, self-doubt, past traumas, negativity. And if this is unconscious, then I may even think I'm being conscious, while this is really what's running the show. And it can pervade through the nervous system, into gestures, into facial expressions. And truly, it's like the manifestation of the lie, that shadow of Gemini. So there's something about this egotistical mechanism that is seated in the development of our beliefs. And our beliefs come from those around us. And we also carry systems of belief throughout our lives, right? And when I say throughout our lives, I mean from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And if that's not something that you subscribe to, awesome. It is something that I subscribe to. Um, I've had very clear, very specific experiences of full memory of past life experiences that have become present life experience in this incarnation as Ciela that I've had to work with in order to understand my being, right? Because when we talk about self-realization or self-awareness or self-awakening, it's not romantic, at least in my experience, in my lived, hard-earned, what do I want to say? Just effort to free myself, to liberate myself from the binds that keep me imprisoned in my own mind, in my own suffering, in my own past. Here's a story for you. When I had my first real, full, embodied memory of a past life, I was sitting there and I felt a body come and sit onto my lap. No one else was around. It was just a happening. And this was after, weeks of a process that I had been in, but I felt this weight. And it got me very curious about weight. Weight in the cosmic sense, weight in the ethereal sense, weight in the astral sense, because I felt the weight, but it wasn't a weight that I could then put on a scale and measure. It existed in another time and space, and it was inside of me. And it was as if this person came and sat on my lap and then never got up. Now I had to be with this weight of this other lives, dreams, hopes, desires, fears, traumas, addictions, etc. All of it came flooding in. And I realized, oh, this isn't someone else, right? This is actually me. And this is something that I've been carrying for a long time, but I just realized this part of myself. So very heavy in nature and continued to be heavy for years as I chipped away at this immense mystery, learning the clues to, discovering the clues of myself in that time, in that period, which really helped to bring me more into my present moment, because so much of me was caught in the past that it was a tremendous gift, one of the most exquisite gifts I've ever received in this lifetime, which took years of my life to process and to come to a certain level of understanding, of which I'm still very much in. I will always be, because that was such a miracle, so out of the ordinary. I would call that extraordinary. Um, and it's not the only memory that I've had. I've had a broad sweeping kind of vista and invitation to see and to know myself throughout different periods of my life, especially when tracking evidence and um, energy as to how I got to a certain state of being or into a particular circumstance, and then was taken back through time to gather understanding. All of this, every time that this has happened to me, it's always to bring me back to the present moment, to have more awareness to who I am today and why and how did I get here. So again, how is this related to Uranus? Actually, when that was happening, Uranus was transiting conjunct my moon. Uranus as cosmic lightning, my house, my little cabin in Jackson, Wyoming, was actually struck by lightning at that time in the middle of the night, woke me up, illuminated the entire bedroom, and my electrical sockets were burned the next morning. It's just so wonderful and thrilling, Uranus is thrilling. Uranus is here. Uranus has been quaking, tectonic shifting through our inner Taurus until just recently, now in Gemini, will continue that weaving between Uranus or between Gemini and Taurus over this fall. So expect earthquakes is what I want to say. Because we're being uplifted. We are being brought into a new place of vision, a new place of reflection, contemplation, curiosity, potentiality, all in the direction of discovering our truths. But in order to discover what our truth is, we have to know what isn't our truth. We have to know what is false. We have to know what is in the way of that truth. And that really requires a tremendous amount of courage. So for all of you listening, myself included, it's like that, okay, buckle up, here we go. This is a courageous step forward. Whatever that step is for you, for me, for each one of us, I'm certain that it is a courageous one if we're stepping towards our truth, if we're interested in that. So as I'm recording this, in the next week, there's going to be a Sun-Uranus square right after the new moon in Virgo. And this feels indicative of a big change. Each one of us has Uranus aspecting some part of our chart right now. Maybe it's a planetary body. I know it's squaring my Saturn. It's been trining my Sun, Venus. So the electrical current is intense. My nervous system has been on edge. My hair has been falling out. Literally, my heart has been pounding in the vibration of things will never be the same. And it has been a process, my friends. It has been so challenging. And that's really just part of it, right? Because we are very, very intricate human beings. And Uranus, wherever it's impacting you, will probably feel like restless or have that relentless nature. It could be nudging you from one phase of being into another. It could be, pushing you out of your comfort zone into a lot of discomfort. It could be opening up a new doorway for you. It could be inviting you into a new role. It could be asking you to leave who you've been behind. You might be moving. You might be ending a relationship. You might be starting an adventure or a new business. You might be waking up with very innovative ideas or revelations from the divine. You might be feeling very anxious. It can look like all of these things, but for sure, in the mindscape, each one of our mindscapes is getting tapped. Each one of our mindscapes is getting activated. Okay, so just with me for a moment, just kind of maybe even close your eyes. Just observe the quality of your mindscape right now. Just, what are the textures, any colors or sounds? Is it soft? Is it rhythmic? Is it erratic? Is it quiet? Is it loud? And gather a point of reference for yourself so that you can track that over time. Check in maybe daily with yourself. I mean, this is our inner world is an important feature of who we are, if not the most important feature, because our inner world is a garden, and from that garden, everything grows. Sometimes it's hard to know when life is happening, it can be very activating, and we can, if we're not necessarily in that integrated whole, like I was talking about, the balance, which is kind of our ideal, which is, to be aware of all parts of ourself all the time. If we're not quite there, which most of us are not, then we might be a little off center. And as life happens, we can get thrown off. We can become reactive, especially with Uranus in the mix. So we wanted to have a point of reference to ground into, to anchor into, right? I was speaking with a very good friend, long time guide in a way to my heart, and she was reflecting back to me around this, the anchoring of this moment, and we were reflecting each other back to each other around purpose. And part of my purpose is to help anchor in, I'd say first and foremost, anchor myself in to the self-realization or self-awareness, to the center of gravity of which is constantly transmuting itself to become more self-aware, to realize itself. And that's really when I go in, it's a churn, and that churn is affirming. It's life affirming. It's working kind of at an incessant pace to become. There's nothing stagnant there unless I fall into stagnancy, unless I fall into the unconscious realm, which can become very dense. And so I'm locating myself in that churn, which is, I realize I have a responsibility with that, because it's not as settled as I also would like to feel. And part of my process is learning how to feel or find a sense of peace or settled, kind of resting place in the consistent churn of just my true nature. That is my true nature. I'm learning how to accept that. And I don't really have a problem with that, but I know that that can be challenging for people in my life, because I am a living process. I love to explore. I love to go deep. If you want to find me, I will be there. And so, yeah, in my own process, I'm just sharing that the word anchor feels very important, to anchor in the center of gravity that's constantly churning, constantly evolving, constantly growing. So, Uranus. Also, Pluto. Oh, Pluto. Oh, Pluto. Wow. Okay. Jokes aside, Pluto, Lord of the underworld, death, rebirth, transformation. For some of you listening, you are Plutonic, just as I am, and you understand the riveting rigor, intensity, profundity, relentless gift and power that is Pluto, that destroys, just tears apart, annihilates that which does not belong. And it can be very painful. It can do that to your identity. It can do that to your authority. It can do that to your path, family relationships, your mind, old ways of being, your relationship with your finances, whatever Pluto is touching, it's going to bring a death and a rebirth. It's here to enhance. It's here to to bring what is real to the surface. So false beware of Pluto, false beware. The unfortunate thing, or the fortunate thing, is that many of us are attached to the false. We don't even know that it is false. We believe, keyword here is believe it to be true. Back to Gemini, the source of our beliefs. But one thing to consider with this, and this is a slight digression back into Gemini, is that what is a belief? And what are the limitations of beliefs? Because can belief take us all the way to the end, whatever the end is? And from over here, no. A belief has limitations, because a belief is something that I utilize to kind of encapsulate a container through which I'm living, and my beliefs are a way that I can articulate that, and I can share my belief system, and I can talk about my belief system. But at some point, those beliefs might reveal themselves to be false. Okay, so there is a limitation that maybe my beliefs were proven wrong. Maybe that's not true. I believed it to be true, and maybe it's not true. Okay, limitation. So what's deeper than belief? For me, faith. Faith is a direct experience. Faith is something that no one can take away from me, because I have lived something that has given me faith directly. It's not something that I can actually have because someone else has that experience. That is belief. Oh, I believe in this because this person had that experience, and I can feel that. No. At some point, I need to have that for myself. I need to live that for myself, and then it becomes faith. And that is a deeper well. Okay. So Pluto annihilates the false. So belief systems may get eradicated while Pluto is in the zone. And, rightfully so. Let them be. My sense is that a lot of us are very attached to our beliefs, especially believing that we are right. I am right. You are wrong. Well, that's a belief. It's not the truth. Oh, so belief is not the truth. There's the limitation right there. Pluto is in Aquarius. Aquarius is also an air sign. So Uranus moved from Taurus into Gemini. Pluto moved from Capricorn into Aquarius. Earth to air, earth to air. Okay. So we've been grounded. We've been working through the earth. I see Pluto like this roto-rooter, huge one of those, I don't know what those are called, but those worms that, dig tunnels. Like that. But we're the mountain, and Pluto digs a tunnel through it to bring the light in and to expose what is so deeply buried underneath. And now that's been happening with Pluto through Capricorn since 2008. Last November 2024, Pluto moved into Aquarius, and okay, here we go. It's time to soar. It's time to ignite. It's time to enliven the future. It's time to transform and take that courageous step forward into the new, into the future, into unknown realms. Aquarius is a high intellectual, very aristocratic realm, which is also very authentic and bizarre. It's the realm of the bizarre. It's the realm of the eclectic. It's totally unpredictable. Uranus in Gemini is similar in the sense that Pluto in Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So Uranus is everywhere right now. And that's why change is so prevalent. It's why I've been speaking to dear beloved friends and humans in my life around this topic of change, because it's in the air we breathe. And again, it always has been, it always is. But right now, it's calling our attention. Our attention is being brought to all of the changes that are happening in technology, in our climate, in our society, in our politics. All of this is our body and our mind, our soul, our philosophy, as above, so below, as without, so within, right? So all of the changes that we're, talking about on these social platforms or arguing about or avoiding the pain. There's so much pain. There's so much suffering in social media. There's so much being exposed, right? That we're not seeing or, barely allowed to see the reality. It's being hidden, but then it's at the same time, it's being exposed by courageous people out there showing other people what is actually going on. And so we're in this, it's like we're caught in that duplicitousness, right? That Uranus is like a pinball hitting the pillars of Gemini from right to wrong, and it's creating a lot of energy, and it's a lot of blaming. I'm right, you're wrong. You know, this is war, this is genocide, this is, Republican, this is Democrat, this is, what have you. This is real, this is false. It's a journey that we're in, and it's chaotic. It's chaotic. As a dear friend and who I call my godmother, Tercy, she's always like, this is just what it looks like right now. Well, this is what it looks like right now. And we are here and we are living it. We're living it in our outer reality, and we are living it in our inner reality. So I come back to that word anchor. As strange and bizarre as times are right now with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, it's time to anchor in and find what is real inside of us. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've been enamored with looking at the sky this past, week, with Jupiter and Venus together. It's been so exquisite, so beautiful, waking up at all times of the night just to go out and be in their presence. Jupiter and Venus in Cancer, so exalted, beautiful, hopeful, possible, buoyant, radiant love. This is a blessing of this time. It's, where I wanted to say it's all going to be okay. Well, some things are going to be okay. Other things are not okay right now. And other things will be okay. And some things really are not. And some things really are changing. And how things are changing, sometimes it depends on us. Sometimes it just is what is so. And our response to that depends on us. Our response versus our reaction. My hope is to respond. And if I'm reacting to something, to pause and get to a place where I can then respond to it. Okay. That's the moment. That's a little bit of what's happening in this moment. Why change? Why I've picked change as a topic to continue to explore this conversation with other people. I haven't been bringing astrology into these interviews because these interviews are really about how are people living the astrology, and what are they bringing forth in themselves? What are they sharing? What is their wisdom? And it's been an incredible honor to do that. For most of my life, I have been drawn like a moth to the flame of change. I am not one to hold on to how things have been. I am one to take a running leap into what is possible. That has gotten me into all kinds of circumstances and adventures, and at times very daunting situations and circumstances that have really forged who I am today. When I had my first reading when I was 16 years old, a soul reading, and this astrological reading around that time too, I was told that I'm here for transformation, that I would be part of bringing forth a new language that would really be anchoring in this new paradigm. So all of that sounds very new age to me, uh, but at the same time, I resonate deeply with my very fervent uh, attraction and resonance with change and transformation. Now, if you look at my chart, you would see that written in the stars, literally, as well. And what I've learned about change in my life is that it typically comes with a certain amount of pain. And that pain can happen quickly or over a longer period of time. The pain itself seems to be intense and very concentrated. It's more of the suffering around it that is more pervasive and lasting. And over my life, I've worked to dissolve the suffering, to in my own process of relational comprehension to what suffering is, and that I actually have a choice in that. I'm not saying I don't suffer. I have suffered a lot at different times, but my effort is to understand why I'm suffering, and then to begin to um, deconstruct that, which then brings me into new realms of liberation where I am no longer suffering, even if the pain is there. And so that's one of the gifts of change, is that change is a vehicle for that process of awakening. And ultimately, no matter how painful the kind of initiation into the change itself can be, whatever it is that's occurring, there's always a rebirth. There's always a resurrection. There's always that deep new breath, right? The light does come. In my life, it has happened again and again and again. And when I find myself in these moments again, I can't believe it. Like, I'm here again. I am in awe. And sometimes when it happens so quickly, I'm like, wow, I've just been through a huge, cycle of change. I just went through the chrysalis and the rebirth, and now I'm liquefying again. Yes, Ciela, you are liquefying again. I don't seem to have control over this. That's another thing. There's the inclination, there's a tendency even to, like, okay, let's do this. Let's transform. Let's change. And there's all that I'm swimming through that is completely out of my control. And a lot of the change is instigated by that. I'm thinking about this a lot because there is the moth to the flame quality. There's also just the opportunity, the invitations, the possibility. And it's not because I don't want to be in the present. It's that my present moment is change itself. I'm learning how to find that anchor in this present moment of change. I hope that this conversation has added some value to your life. If you're still here listening with me today, thank you so much for your presence. It's really a joy to share some of my perspective with you. When I use the word we, I know that I speak in we language sometimes. Um, please excuse me. It's coming from a place of passion, and I'm sharing um, in that way. So if this doesn't resonate with you, please know that is more than okay with me. And I hope that anything that does resonate with you is a gift for your day. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for this invitation.